Top of the morning, governor. Hey, guys. What's up, everybody? This is another episode of Off the Top. You know, I have to be a little bit more extra being where I'm at, but I am super excited to do this episode. It's kind of long awaited. I'm finally being able to catch up with you guys and Julian catch up with everybody. So how are you feeling about this episode, Julian?
I think that's a perfect representation of what I was going to touch on first is if you guys are noticing different wavelengths of energy between Jordan and I, it's because at this point in time, we're literally 8 hours, 8 hours difference in time. So like essentially this podcast for me is being recorded at 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 8 hours behind Jordan's time.
Yeah. So like totally different, you know, I woke up about 20-30 minutes ago. So, and he's about to go to sleep right after this podcast.
Yeah, so it's mad wild, but essentially, I mean, you guys have heard that, we've moved, we've gone on to, progress our careers in some sort of way. And we're just getting in the rhythm of, recording a podcast essentially across the pond, which is still hard for me to fathom. Like when I'm at work and like doing things and it's the middle of the day, I'm like, dang, Jordan's like sleeping right now, or it's the end of his day, and he's like almost a whole day ahead of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so funky, man. Especially being on like one time zone where all my people are doing the same thing, or maybe like max probably 2-3 hours ahead. To now, I'm starting to talk to people when it's my time around 4 p.m. It's just such a mind blow. Something I wasn't anticipating being as big of a thing as it is.
So what has that we've talked a little bit, but what has that communication process kind of been like for you, like adapting and talking to a lot of your, longtime or lifetime friends that are, X amount of hours behind? How has that been for you?
For me, it's been a little bit more of a not so smooth process, I would say. So when I came over here, I didn't have any like apps where I would be able to communicate to people like through the internet. I didn't even have like Facebook Messenger or anything like that. So I quickly picked up on those things. I was just using Snapchat, which isn't the best for, long-term communication. And, my mom and dad are definitely not on Snapchat. So there was like a lot of lag and a lot of like not so great things to work through when it came to that. But now I'm kind of like on that. I have my WhatsApp, which is really popular over here, by the way. And I'm on Messenger, and I have Skype. So I'm pretty well connected when it comes to communicating to people through through different time zones and different places. So, a big learning curve, I would just say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing too, that it's kind of hard to describe. Like, obviously you and I are, doing this podcast. So ahead of time, we have to know what we're talking about. And like I explained to people, there's really like maybe 4 hours in my day, and probably the same for Jordan, for us to communicate. And that for me is probably like 8 a.m. to around like 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Seeing that's a 4-hour window, because you realistically have to think like 8 hours of the day, I'm sleeping, 8 hours of the day, Jordan's sleeping. Those other hours we either are in school or working. So like for me, I have flexibility during work to text him or, send him Facebook Messenger for those 4 hours where it's like later in his day. But any opportunity past then, it's either like too late on his end or like too late on my end, which is a really kind of hard thing to understand, because sometimes you just have these random thoughts that you come in here like, oh, I'm going to shoot him over there. And then you're like, he's sleeping.
Yeah, it's definitely the same. Luckily for me, I am more of a person that really enjoys, or not truly enjoys, but I'm really comfortable, and sometimes I really like my own time. So not being so connected with everybody is there's like a silver lining to that in a sense, but it's just so strange. And obviously, that's one of the things that I'm adjusting to out here.
Yeah, I never got to ask you, what I mean, what did you take over there, right? We lived in an apartment together. So you had, we both had our, bedrooms and other random stuff, like a garage full of things. Like, luckily, I just moved north and got to take a U-Haul to where I'm at. And, most of my stuff was able to come with me. But essentially, you were on a plane and, had a limited amount of stuff you can take before you start like blowing a ton of money to ship stuff. So like, what did you
Hmm.
take over there, seeing that you kind of set up the way you are?
Yeah, so that was definitely one thing where I had to, change a lot or like prepare for a lot. Obviously, I'm not taking, like a bed or a closet, like a closet wardrobe or anything. So I just like downsized like crazy, threw a ton of stuff out, sold a ton of stuff, gave a ton of stuff away. So literally, you could probably fit my life in like a like a probably like a big closet
Hmm.
and have room to spare. As far as like what's left is like old like things that I want to remember from like maybe my days in high school, or like
Mhm.
pictures, and a couple of shoes still left and a couple of other things. But basically, man, it's just like a very, very like I downscaled in some extreme ways.
What was the first thing when you kind of unpacked and settled in that you're like, man, I really missed that, or like, I can't believe I didn't pack that? Something that like you kind of wish you could have had that you just, didn't bring with you.
There's a few things that I would say about that. One thing is I wish, how about this? I wish I wouldn't have brought something.
Okay.
And the thing that I wish I wouldn't have brought is my basketball sneakers. So over here I was
What?
expecting, yeah, yeah, no, it's very strange because I'm very adamant, like I really enjoy playing basketball, but the thing is me being over here for a month now, like literally my month anniversary is today, which I didn't know
Huh.
until we started. Yeah, I said that, but I've played basketball once, and it was the most like horrendous and like not like almost disrespectful to the game type of basketball.
Well, so,
So,
so I know beforehand, before you went over there, we obviously talked a lot about like if you'd be able to find, basketball runs or, find similarities to, further your passions. I know I saw on your Snapchat the other day, whatever they had going on in that weight room you were in was a mess. So like,
oh,
what is the disconnect between like people playing basketball and like the athletic atmosphere or the gym, like health atmosphere over there?
yeah, good question. So, for people, I'll totally catch up everybody. So, for the Snapchat that Julian mentioned, basically what happened about a couple days ago, it was like National Fitness Day, and I'm still looking for a gym. And I was happening to like come walking back from grocery shopping, and so I like randomly stopped at this is like dude with an Iron Man suit, and he's like, "Yeah, we're having like a free National Fitness Day at the gym. Like you can go in and like work out for free." And so I'm like, "All right, sure, let's see what it's about." And it was really close to my place, so I figured, like I hope this works out. It was like the biggest cluster I've ever seen. I don't know what like the culture is out there, but there was like weights all over the place. Um, you have to like literally, I had to take my time out to like look at these weights, look over on the other side of the room. Oh, I want to use like and get this 20 kilos. It's not,
Oh
obviously,
yeah,
it's
that's
not pounds
right.
anymore, which I knew, but it's like there's no, at least in the States, when you work out, there's pounds and kilos on weights. Over there, it's just kilos. So,
Oh, yikes. Yeah, I didn't even think about that's like I think a lot of people wouldn't think about that right away. So that must have been an interesting adjustment, like being one of the first times in a weight room over there trying to put up some weights. You're like, well, this looks like the right size dumbbell, but you have no clue.
yeah, exactly. And not working out for a little bit as well. Obviously, I wasn't there to just, max my stuff out and hurt myself. So I was definitely going off feel, like, and also doing like a little simple math,
Mm.
like I'm taking, a 30-kilo dumbbell is about 66, 65 pounds, like
Hmm.
two times 2.2, that is. So, that's the simple math I did in my head before I lifted, but who knows how accurate just my quick mental calculations are.
And then, so after, in this time frame, how did you find a basketball game?
Oh, good question. So I went to the internet, as most people our age would go, and I found this app called Game On. And so it's going to be very helpful for people trying to like find some sort of hoop in London or different places, because I know it's all over the place. Um, and so I found it and found a spot where they were going to go play. And so I like, sign up, and I guess you have to pay over here, because it's not like there's just places where you can just go in and hoop. You have to like rent space out at like sport, like academies and stuff like that. And so I travel, and it was a long ways of travel. I travel about an hour across London
So you
to
take the
get there.
tube?
Yeah, yeah. I take the underground, and then I take the overground, and then I like walk for a little bit, and yeah, it was a process. But anyway, I like get there, and get this, it's so crazy. I like go in, and I see everybody, and they're waiting out in the hallway, so I'm just waiting out there, like being quiet. I wasn't sure who these people were, so I was just gonna play and stuff like that. And this one guy walks up. Everybody doesn't look like they play basketball, and then this one guy is about 6'7", black guy comes in. And the first thing I notice is that he talks like me. And so when we introduced each other, we gave each other like the weirdest look, because it's like, what is that? What is your accent doing here? But anyway, we start playing and stuff eventually. And I ask him where he's from, and the craziest part, because he hoops too, like you could just tell by the way somebody will like dribble the ball or move with the basketball that they've played played basketball or know how to play. It ends up he was from literally about 10 minutes away from my hometown in Southern California. Whoa. So this is crazy, just like random turn of event.
Wow, yeah, that is really odd, especially if you're going to travel. First of all, you're in another country. You're going to travel an hour away from where you are to find this random basketball game placed on essentially an app that you are paying to help rent out this space, and you're unsure. And then you meet somebody that was, from within a 10-minute radius of where you were, to be on the same court in that instance.
Yeah, super, super random. I mean, it just seems so odd. But once again, like that was probably the first American accent I had heard at that point, probably in 2.5 weeks. So it was definitely a very, very warm welcome, or my ears received it very well, because as much as pleasurable as that was, as my perfect imitation of British people was in that introduction, it wears down on you if you're not used to it.
Yeah, and then the game ensued, and it just wasn't up to your standards.
Oh, Julian, it's serious if I'm going to say your name before I speak, but I don't know what it was. It was hardly basketball. It was an opportunity for me to run up and down the court.
Yeah.
Some people just didn't know.
Yeah, I guess it's a good opportunity to get some physical activity, but boy, I would have been pissed if I would have got an hour to, see essentially, you pay to rent out this space, and like you go in there and it's just like, I'm assuming, 6 to 10 other dudes, not accounting the other American dude. Because I'm assuming what you said, the American dude probably could play a little bit, that these other cats were just kind of there.
No, seriously. And it wasn't like they were there. They were actively affecting the game in an ignorant way. And I know that sounds very aggressive, the way that I just said it, but it was just so shocking, But once again, it's like it's soccer or football over here. So if I was expecting, I'm sure somebody who's like good at football or played some serious ball here, like soccer, went over to the States, they would be thinking the same thing, I'm sure, of, like US pickup soccer.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And that's just one of the things about kind of changing and adjusting to different cultures and, different lifestyles. And yeah, that's just a tough break into the scene where you're like, obviously, I've been in love with basketball for so long, and the first thing you think about is like, man, why did I bring these basketball shoes?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I was just like really hoping to hoop here and there, but I'm not sure it's going to be as common as I think. But there are some very good spots. Luckily, granted, these like not everybody knows basketball, so the basketball IQ isn't as like high, or people don't have the skills as well. But the really cool thing is that you're next to so many cultures and people and stuff that you're going to find some very, very athletic people.
Mm-hmm.
um
Yeah.
so I mean, either that's very, very scary that this athletic person who doesn't know how to play basketball is near you, or it makes it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah. So now seeing that, you have to work a little bit harder to find, to play basketball, or, finding a gym and all that. Are there any, new hobbies that you've picked up in your, the time you have in between, class and studying, and that just kind of free time zone? Is there anything that you're trying out that you may have learned over there you just kind of had more time to do?
I would say that that's kind of like a huge part of what I'm doing. A lot of studying, and another thing too is just like experiencing London when I can. So when I have like free time or anything, I'll go see a spot of London that I haven't ever seen before. Or another thing, one of my pastimes, which has been pretty poppin' so far, is I just start asking people for restaurant recommendations.
Mm.
And so right now it's like, I have this conquest of knocking down really good restaurants, and I'm taking it like a cultural food at a time. So right now I'm on Indian food. And so I have a few places I need to go through recommendations. And, I have like a West Indies food probably next and stuff like that. The one thing though, I'm not going to rock with over here, and, I might get some hate, is I don't think that they have like, the real Mexican food. And I feel like it would be like, for me, it would be the equivalent of cheating on the real Mexican food to go over here and eat like,
Yeah.
something
I think
just
that's an accurate
shameful.
statement. I don't think anyone's going to give you some hate for them not having Mexican food over there, seeing like being from Southern California. It just, yeah, it doesn't seem like, Mexican food is going to make its way over there the same way it's kind of infiltrated. I guess that's a terrible word to say. The way it's kind of spread across like America as like a staple, as most people know, it's like American food, Mexican food, and then kind of some other subgenre. So, I mean, I wouldn't even pick, London to be a spot that had some legit Mexican joints.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I know you're a foodie, and I know you like to, eat interesting things or try out different places. And I'll tell you what, you'd be busy, like a very, very busy man coming here.
Yeah, I would assume it's like a cultural pot, like boiled mesh pot of just a ton of different. It's like almost, I guess, essentially the center to me. When I think of London, I think of it kind of being the center of everything. So it probably has just so like you could probably go days, years with finding something new every day or some variation that's always being influenced by different cultures or starting in London and moving outwards.
Yeah, absolutely. But there you go. I feel like that was a little taste of, what my life's been so far. There's definitely a lot more flavor to it if you guys want to ask, but I'm really curious about you. How are you settling in? We talked about food. Have you found any good food up north?
I mean, essentially there's some just more diversity, more local family owned like pizza shops or premier restaurants, that everyone could assume going from a small town to a large town, you're going to find a lot more interesting, food restaurants. And being in Portland, there is a lot of, kind of this influx of people moving to the Northwest. So you get a lot of new restaurants. And I'm just slowly trying to go about it. Right now I'm on a big pizza thing and barbecue. And then I'll just probably try to make my way to some sweets, and then, try to start finding some hole in the wall spots.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's the thing that I feel like the conquest is the hole in the wall spot is everybody wants to be that person that knows where the best cornbread is in the city, and it makes it even better if it's served out of like somebody's uncle's like garage.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. And I think it's the interesting thing about, moving up here and having a place to myself and kind of being outside of the city is like finding the motivation to go do it. Like I would say I'm a motivated person, but it's like it's kind of over. I'm assuming for you, this is like 10 times fold, but like it's just kind of overwhelming. Like for me, I look at Yelp or just like ask people for recommendations. There's everyone's going to have, a handful of different recommendations. And then you have to like go home and sit down and you're like, oh, so and so said go to this place. And so said go to this place. And you're like, I really don't even know what this food is like. And it's tough to sometimes go to a new restaurant like by yourself if you don't really essentially know what to order, or if maybe what they got wasn't what that restaurant thought was their specialty.
Yeah, no, definitely for sure. And then you also have to gauge, what that person's palate's like who's giving you this recommendation. And it's even harder on Yelp because it's like, how do you know this, what this stranger's into, and if they're into the same things you are? No, for sure. I can definitely sympathize and put myself in those shoes that I've walked in a ton of times.
Yeah.
But besides,
the thing I've
go
done
for it.
on Yelp is I've actually become a Yelp artist, I'd like to say. I've been breaking down restaurants on a SWOT analysis. So if you aren't familiar with the SWOT analysis, it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So that if someone does come across my Yelp review, they know I'm serious. I haven't put down any. I haven't put down any threats yet, but I'm really looking forward to getting my first threat. As in, like, this place isn't very healthy, so if you don't clean it up, you're going to get shut down pretty soon. I just put you on notice.
You're putting restaurants on notice.
Yeah, my amateur food review is going to be putting these big restaurants on notice for a napkin on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if Julian starts running basically like a mafia, restaurants start paying for their protection from Julian's Yelp fingers. We know where it started.
Yeah, count me in.
But other than that, man, how are you liking the city? What are things that you're really enjoying? What are things that are super weird to you, and what are things in between?
I mean, I think I'm finally settling in. I've been up here a little over 2 months now, but I mean, brief stint, not to go too long, but my first 2 months up here, my car is broken down twice, and I've put over like $1,500 into that piece. My apartment had a bunch of little issues. Jordan was here for a little bit where my garbage disposal didn't work, and my maintenance man apparently came in, flicked it on, turned it off real quick after it made some terrible sound, and then just never checked it again. It didn't work. So little issues like that I've been pressing on, and like just kind of getting in that groove of figuring out, how long it takes with traffic. Is something that I just wasn't preparing. Like I don't have a whole lot, but it is still kind of annoying when it takes, 55 minutes to go, 12 miles or something like that.
Gotcha. No, I can definitely understand all that stuff, especially, well, yeah, since I was there for the apartment thing, that's definitely the case. And traffic is obviously no bueno on anybody's, there's no reason that you'd want to be in traffic, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing that I've started to do once I'm up here is being out of school, you have so much more time. Like, granted, I still work 8 hours a day, but like on my type of sleep schedule, I have a little bit more time, I'd say, than the average person. So I've been really kind of diving into like reading a little bit more, which I was looking forward to. So when Jordan and I have our follow up on, books to read, that'll be a podcast to tune into because we already had one and it went well, and you should tune into the next one once we have that. And I've kind of just started to find little things that I wanted to do a little bit better while I was in school, and now I have the time to kind of work on those things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like that's such the biggest pleasure of, being out of school and working, is that you have this free time and you're not consumed with homework or projects or things that you have to do that, are taking up your time outside of you being in class. That's definitely something that people will come to at a premium. And now that we kind of like flipped scripts,
Yeah.
and now that I'm going to school and you're the one working, it'll be a very interesting couple podcasts. I'll be super stressed at some points, and
Yeah,
you know,
it'll be interesting to see how things go. But I mean, generally that's a good overview, I think, for the people of, what we've been up to and how things are changing. We'll probably just eventually dive deep into, maybe some different culture things of where Jordan and I are at, or just some just differences in between different countries, or what people ask that are, make things, a little bit more interesting between America and London, or, or like a bigger metropolitan area.
yeah, exactly. I mean, if you guys have any questions, don't be strangers. We got the off the top email at gmail.com. We also can see your comments that you leave down below. And, I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's been fun to like catch up and, say a few things that, catch Julian up on a few things that he hasn't heard, and vice versa. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys. Like I said, like we always say, we're, the fastest archaeologists around, maybe the fastest archaeologists in two separate places at once.
Internationally.
Yeah,
Yes. Globally.
so come at us. We're on 12 platforms. You can find us and follow us there. And yeah, we really appreciate the support, and we look forward to, moving on with, more episodes, another year, and everything in between.
Yeah. Peace, homies.
Thanks for listening.